Hi, Mike here. How to become a UX designer with no design degree and no experience in design. Let's talk about it. I'd like to tell you that you can get started in UX design nearly for free. If you cannot afford attending a UX bootcamp or taking a certificate program, that's not a problem. You do not need to go back to school and get design degree. UX designers come from all kinds of backgrounds. For example, I studied linguistics in college, and I worked as a QA specialist before I picked up design. I taught myself design when I was 25. Before we continue, let me define what I mean when I say UX. I like to think of UX in a broad sense. You might also call it UI UX or product design. It includes user research, coming up with ideas, wireframing them, maybe prototyping them, testing them, as well as coming up with the final design or high fidelity mock. It is also mostly about designing applications and not so much websites, which is covered by web design. First of all, you will need to learn some basics of UX design. The best resource for that is the book, The Elements of User Experience by Jesse James Garrett. If there is only one book on UX that you can read, this should be it. It's actually a rather short and easy read, but it's really fundamental. It was a career-defined book for me. It was one of the first UX books I read, and it shaped my understanding of UX design, as well as my design process. I highly recommend it. It actually started as one-page diagram published 20 years ago. To study the diagram, read the book. Also watch this video on the elements here. This book alone should give you enough knowledge and understanding to start working on design projects. But if you'd like to learn more, you can take some free UX design courses. I'll leave a link in the description below. I'll also link to some other helpful resources that you can use in your learning journey. And I know there is a lot to learn. Trust me, I was there. Just take it one step at a time. The elements will also introduce you to UX design process. And there is a lot to talk about. You can watch my video on UX design process here. In general terms, design process is a series of steps designers take to solve design problems. In its basic form, it boils down to understanding and defining the problem, as well as designing and testing the solution. There is a number of activities and deliverables that come with each step. User research, stakeholder interviews, personas, user journeys, user story mapping, cart sorting, wireframing, prototyping, user testing, and all these fun things. And this is where it gets overwhelming. You can take it in step by step and piece by piece as you are working through your design projects. It's not rocket science after all. Now, when you are somewhat familiar with the basics of UX design and UX design process, you can start working on your portfolio. That's right. Start working on your portfolio. Forget about daily UI challenges. Don't waste your time. Start working on projects that you can use in your portfolio. There is a lot that we can talk about regarding UX portfolio, and I'm going to talk about it in my future videos. So please make sure to subscribe. By the way, if you find this information valuable, please like this video. There should be a like button somewhere there. Thank you. Speaking of portfolio, you should aim to have 3 to 5 projects that you've completed from start to finish. For your first project, I would recommend you find a design problem that is related to your hobbies, your work, or your daily life. In the business world, it is called scratching your own itch. Find an idea that interests you. Don't do another bike sharing or food ordering app unless this is something that you're absolutely passionate about. The project you pick is your chance to stand out and show a little bit of your personality. As you work through the project, you will treat yourself as the user. First, define the problem, and then start working on ideas. You can start in low fidelity first. Even just sketching something on paper works. Of course, you can also do wireframes. At this point, you will need some design tools. There are some great tools available these days. If you own a Mac, I highly recommend using Sketch. This is what I use for work, and I'm very happy with it. If you don't own a Mac, you can use Adobe XD or Figma. They're all very easy to learn and use. They'll meet your needs as a designer. You can use them to produce low-fidelity wireframes, finished high-fidelity mocks. You can also use them to build some simple prototypes, which are great for demos and testing. Speaking of high-fidelity mocks, learning to design aesthetically pleasing interfaces can be challenging for many, especially if you do not have background in graphic design. Of course, even if you do have some background in design, you still need to learn best practices and design patterns that are used in user interface design. The best way to learn is by studying and then copying the apps that you use daily. It is really important to learn by interacting with real products. There are so many nuances that go into designing interactive products. You just won't see them if you look at an image on Dribbble or Behance. Some great resources to learn UI design, Google Material Design documentation, as well as Apple Human Interface guidelines. You can also look at examples from Bootstrap's website. It is also a good idea to join design communities. You can start by simply reading questions and answers that are being asked there. You can also contribute by sharing links to the resources that you use yourself, like this video for example. You can also start connecting with designers, but don't just send them a request to connect on LinkedIn or Facebook. Send them a message, introduce yourself, tell them why you'd like to connect. Communities is also a great place where you can find a mentor. But before you reach out to strangers saying,
"Can you be my mentor?"
follow them everywhere. Read everything they put out online. Blog posts, books, conference presentations, videos. Do your homework first, then approach them with specific questions. At some point, you will also want to share your work. When you share your work, seek constructive feedback. Some of the feedback might be rather harsh. When I started in design, I shared some of my first work and I got feedback like,
"You should not show your work to anyone but your mom for the first year."
I'm glad I did not listen. Instead of sharing my work publicly, I sent it privately to some select designers. Another point concerning feedback. You might not like the feedback that you got, but still make sure to thank the designer who took time to respond. Becoming a UX designer is challenging but exciting journey. I'm happy to help you along the way. Feel free to leave any questions you might have in the comments. I'll respond to them as soon as I can. You might also want to check out this video here. Again, please like and subscribe. Thank you for watching.